Welcome, everyone, to Courageous Creative Conquerors. This is Jean Voice Dart. It's my belief that everyone has a gift of creative expression. We were born to express ourselves to stay healthy and happy. Whether you are planting a garden, writing a story, building a cabinet, sewing a scarf, or singing a song, what matters is expressing from the heart. And the creative and expressive arts are a healthy coping strategy that shifts us from trauma to triumph. So join me as we listen and learn key tips and techniques from our special guest and courageous creative conqueror. My special guest today is Janet Alexander, author, trail rider, quilt maker, horsehair braider, and jewelry maker. Hi, everybody. I'm Jean Voice Dart, and this is Courageous Creative Conquerors, and I'm here with Janet Alexander. I'm just delighted to be here with you today, Jan.
I'm delighted to be here with you, Jean.
Thank you. I mean, you just have so much to offer. Jan is going to be sharing about her passion for horses. She's an accomplished writer, author, and she has a new book coming out. We're going to hear about that. But she's also a crafter and a very creative person. We're going to talk about her abilities with the creative arts and her passion for that. I believe creativity is a big definition. How would you define creativity or being creative?
I think it's a lot about the ability for you to be quiet and to go inside and to feel what you're called to do, and then not to listen to people who say, oh, that's silly, or oh, you can't do that, or oh, that's, your time could be better spent. There are more important things that you could be doing, or whatever signs, like the sign that I got that I was not artistic because I had never drawn anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't get to explore, well, how do I know I couldn't draw anything if I didn't have the opportunity to put that to the test? Don't be afraid of being perfect. I went through that, being a perfectionist, and if I couldn't do it well, then it was embarrassing and just affirmed
Yes.
my inability. Because art, you make a lot of mistakes, just in life, you make a lot of mistakes, but if you're smart, you learn from them. And
Yes, and sometimes those mistakes turn out to be blessings and take us in a new direction, and we can embellish on that mistake and make something even more remarkable and creative
right.
that no one else has thought of. And I know that I'm a writer, artist, musician. I love all the arts, craft,
Oh gosh.
everything. And as a musician, a lot of times, particularly with jazz improvisation, you're just kind of playing around and you're playing notes that don't even fit in the music, and then you can go off and do something nobody even considered. So the same with art. So
I
I'm
have a tin ear and I can't sing at all.
yeah,
I tried, I had piano lessons when I was a child, but it was so like I just didn't, that wasn't my thing. I
yeah,
just
yeah.
didn't call me at all. So I admire people that are musicians. So
Well, I admire you. You inspire me. And I'm so glad that you brought this up and that you're encouraging people to not get stuck with perfection. Tell me about this photo here and what are you feeling? What's going on there?
I was really excited. I was born in a big city and I had this mysterious love of horses. I don't know where it came from because I did not have any horse people or horses in my life. Then the women in the family were very, good at cooking, and oh, I give my eye teeth for some of the wonderful desserts that they used to make by hand.
Yes, yes.
Apple strudel, that was so good, and so forth. They quilted and they crocheted, and my mother macrameed, and I just was attracted to those self-sufficient type skills, I guess.
Yeah, so you
So,
were inspired by them with their artistry and down home love, for family and the
yeah.
quilting. And I know you picked that up. Um, and was there anything else as a child? You're just talking as a child. What did you do that was artsy craftsy or in the home with your
Oh,
parents?
I was a campfire girl, and we did
Yeah.
crafts there, and I very distinctly remembered learning the macrame skills of um, braiding, macrameing those long thin chains to and hook
Yeah.
them together so that you could put your whistle on, and I really liked that craft.
We didn't have campfire girls, but we had the Girl Scouts and brownies and all that. My mom was a troop leader, and I know what you mean. There's just so much crafty things going on there, and I was very much inspired by that too. Well, that's
It's
great.
fun.
That you had that in your family. Studies show that when children are supported in that way with the arts, then when they grow up, they become better at creative problem solving and looking out of the box because they've been so encouraged to be creative.
And one thing that was interesting, the school that I went to, you know, art class was more or less tracing things on colored paper and things like that. They weren't like drawing and painting. And then
Yeah.
when I got to high school, um, you had to have shown talent in those areas to merit the expense to go into the classes that required,
Oh,
they had to support all the money for all the, paint and the brushes and, all the different things. So I was not proven artistic at that level. So I didn't
yeah.
get the painting part or the drawing part. I didn't
Well,
think I
I'm
could.
so glad you brought that up because what you're saying is very, very true. Often a lot of the people out there, and maybe you can speak to them, heartfelt compassion to them. We're told or we're programmed that creativity and being an artist is fine art painting or,
Puts you in the now. My mind is always racing about the future, about the past.
oh, beautiful. Let's take a look at some of the other photos here that you shared with me. We were looking at you as a young girl here and definitely showing your passion for horses. And we're going to talk about that here. And this is you as an older uh, young young adult.
So this is Geronimo, my first horse. So this is one of my dreams come true was to have my own horse. And so
Oh,
this was the first guy.
beautiful. Yeah. And how did that feel getting your first horse?
Oh, it felt wonderful. And he had a challenge, and I didn't know that much. So we fortunately got a teacher. And that's one thing I learned from the arts is you have to ask for help, no matter if you're riding a horse or writing a book or you're promoting a book. There are going to be so many things associated with your interests that you just cannot put the pressure on yourself to feel like you have to know it all. You have to step out of yourself and ask people for help and risk that fear that you have of them feeling that you're stupid or inadequate or that type of thing, and trust that there will be people there who want you to succeed and will help you.
That's great advice. And who were the people that helped you along the way or inspired you?
Oh, there's so many people. Just so many people with horses, people with the writing, people with the publishing, now people with the selling. It's like a whole new social group that I have,
Yes.
extension of my family.
And how important is spirituality in your relationship with God and in
Oh,
all
very.
this?
I thought it was weird. And it seemed impossible. Um, And the more experiences I had at church camp or at Campfire Girls, it just whetted my, I mean, it forced my desire for horses. Um, but things didn't come easily, and I got frustrated that I couldn't do it. I was unsuccessful. I was beating myself up. Like, why can't you do it? Why can't you make enough money to do this? Why,
Yeah.
and things like that. And I, my husband, was of a different religion than I was brought up. So I went to speak to his minister. I went to his church to find out more about his faith. And one of those things that you had to do is talk to one of the ministers. And there was a woman minister there. And I had, as I said before, I had been raised with the male minister icon. And so I went to her, and I had it with God. I was just sick of being rejected or teased. It just seemed really mean to tease somebody like that.
Sure.
And I was tired of it, and I wasn't going to play that game anymore. And I didn't want a horse. Horses were too dangerous. Horses were too expensive.
Oh,
Horses were too frivolous. Horses were this. Horses were that. Horses were a stage horse. All the negative stuff. And I was really mad. I mean, it just. And I thought, oh my
uh,
God, she's
how
gonna.
did you get out of that?
Well, I feared when I shut up finally that she was going to chastise me big time for being so irreverent. And man, who do you think put that desire in your heart upon your creation? And who is not going to give up trying to get that message through to you until you let it in? And internally,
Oh,
like a volcano out
yeah.
I felt like the room was spinning like that ride, the can you're on in the amusement park, and they strip the floor away and you're stuck on like a fly on the wall. I mean, it just was a huge experience. And
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah.
that's what God wanted for me. And
Yeah.
finally figured, we're all facets of God put on earth to explore a different dimension of God. And I have
Yes.
my own dimension that I'm responsible for. And that's from God, not from other people. That's from God. So that helped me. And then being
Yeah.
supported for 30 years, I'm sure of God's love for me.
Yeah. And just get all that other stuff out of the way and focus on what you are intended to do. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. Well, let's look at another picture here and move forward. So we were last looking at Geronimo. Let's move forward here. And here we are at looking at some of your crafts, crafting this braided wool rug. Tell us about this.
I took some lessons during my 20s and things. I took like a beginning weaving lesson, and I uh, I found out about braiding wool rugs. You go to the thrift store, you buy an old pair of wool pants or an old wool coat, and you take it apart and you wash it and you dry it, and then you make it into strips, and then you wind those into rolls, and then you take three at a time. And I can't explain any further on this tape, but you then braid them
Mm-hmm.
in a certain way that they bend, so that you can, make a circular one or an oval shaped one or whatever. And I love the idea, like with the quilting, I love the idea that you just go to this thrift store and you buy whatever they have, and whatever color they have, you deal with. So you can see from, this picture that I didn't go to the store and say, well, I'm going to do red and green for Christmas and buy the wool. You went to the thrift store and you just, you took whatever color you got and figured the best combination, the best,
It's
presentation.
beautiful. It's magnificent. Yeah, I love, the personality of it, all the different patterns and colors and everything. Yeah, great. Well, we're going to look at some more of your crafting here.
And then I uh, transferred the same idea to making purses. I was taught you make two round rugs, so to speak, and you sew them together. You insert a lining in them. You leave part of it open and put a clasp there, and it becomes a purse.
Oh, what a great idea. I don't believe I've ever seen something like that patterning, to create that rug patterning into a purse. That's beautiful. I love it. It looks like your cat loves it too.
Yes, he's our playboy. He just loves toys for boys. He loves anything.
Now, is this something that you used to do, or are you still making
No,
rugs?
I haven't done it for a long
You
time.
haven't done it for a while.
See that macrame from my childhood, or not macrame,
Uh-huh.
macrame from my childhood, those whistle, necklaces. And
Uh-huh.
this, I think all this led to my the next craft that we're going to share in a little bit.
Okay, let's look at that here. Oops,
It's
we'll
okay.
talk about dancer first. Yeah.
Right. This is now we're going into my middle age. And this is the miracle horse that I found within 2 weeks of the minister's advice. And
Wow.
the answer, I was married at this point. My husband's job was stable. So it was a point where we could look at if we could afford a horse. He told me to go do some research, and I asked an acquaintance, and she said, well, go talk to Connie, my best friend. We had moved from Louisville to Indiana. And I called Connie, and she was a horse trainer, endurance horse trainer. And so she said, oh, you don't need to buy a horse. Because my semi-retired champion never gets any exercise anymore because we're so busy training and selling the young horses. And he needs for his health to be exercised. Well, for a couple of years, I got to ride this wonderful horse for 2 years in the woods. She had the state land was right in her backyard. We have 80 to 100 miles of trail in this part of southern Indiana, and she lives right on the edge. So we just go over there and just go in the woods.
Yeah.
And I never could have conceived of this. I thought you had to be rich and you had to, have I don't know, like a Churchill Downs kind of,
Yeah.
thoroughbred bluegrass, uh, whatever, you had to be wealthy.
Yeah. And your dream came true. It manifested as soon as you opened that door. Yeah. Okay. Tell us about this horse.
The owner of Dancers Streak's owner had a girlfriend um, named Lois, who also was a competitor, still is a competitive endurance rider. And she had a string of horses, and she had too many to exercise and train to the level. She was doing 100-mile-in-a-day rides with her experienced horses. And then
Oh,
she had horses doing 50-mile competitions. And then she was starting horses out at the beginning, getting them ready for their first competition, which was 25 miles. And she needed someone to help condition her young horse. And this was Highlander. And so I got to be his conditioner. And here we are in our first competition. And I called it my cloud nine picture because I'm so happy. And it was a dusty fall day. And so the dirt's kind of clouding up at the bottom. So I'm on cloud nine.
oh,
Um, so so I had him for 20. I bought him then a couple years later. I knew him through and through, and I bought him I rode him for a total of 21 years.
what a beautiful horse and a wonderful
Yes.
friend for you for so many years. Yeah. And here we are.
My brother was getting married, and I wanted to make him a quilt for his wedding presents. So I had done some quilts I had done one with my grandmother. I had done a couple by myself. And this time I took a lesson for some, finishing touches. This quilt was more difficult because it had a rounded pattern. And my other
Yeah.
ones had been like a square shape, and it's much easier to do, squares and rectangles than it is curves.
And here's a close up of that detail work, all that stitching. My goodness. And you said it took you about a year to get it.
I was working, so I had to fit it in my schedule.
It looks like perfection when we're zooming in and looking at the stitches, that they just look very, very nice. Okay, and now we get to talk a little bit about your books.
Okay,
And
so I'm
really,
teaching, and I joined a writers group And I had been called to write my whole life. I don't know where that was another mystery. And so I had different stories from childhood, from my early stages of teaching, before my master's degree. After when I came to Louisville and I started writing, Dancer and Highlander, I would write stories about the rides. So I joined a writers group. And as I was writing more, I was collecting my old ones and decided to put them together in a book. And this is before I knew anything about books. I just thought, and I think, what do you call that? Ignorance is bliss, I guess. I think that writing the book is the hard part. That's just so. Equus Film and Arts is an annual worldwide convention for sharing the love of horses in all types of
Oh,
artistic ways. So it could be movies, blogs, magazines, art pieces, drawing, sculpture, books. So I entered the book in the book category, and it won a prize for, let me see, it was equine healing. So it won in the category of equine healing.
oh, well, that's great. And so we talk about something very unique and wonderful that you do. Explain this to us.
One day when I was on a trail ride with Highlander, the friend I was riding with showed me the bracelet she had purchased out west during vacation. And it was made out of horsehair. And I was blown away. I had no conception of this fiber art form. And I immediately vowed I was going to make a bracelet out of Highlander's hair. But I couldn't find a book. I couldn't find a person. I got a grant to study it from the state. Finally did find two people a distance away. I learn one by one. So that's my learning style. I'm not, that's the way I learn best, just by seeing somebody do it and emulate what they're doing. So I figured I need to make this easier for people to do
Yeah.
this art form. I need to write the book that tells from the beginning to the end, a complete story of all the steps in braiding horsehair jewelry. And when you're braiding or riding a horse, you are in the present. This was inspired by my horse's eyeball. I am absolutely drawn in, focused, mesmerized by horse eyeballs.
Oh, me
Um,
too.
and so the bead in the middle is this pupil, and it's strung on like the white of his eye, the sclera. Is that the sclera? Then it's framed by his black eyelid and then his
Yes.
red hair. And I am wearing today the
Oh, and that's horsehair?
yes, that's
Oh, beautiful.
I'm wearing my jewelry in that one. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
You're wearing all your jewelry. Yeah,
Wearing the bracelet
a
that I just
bracelet
showed
and
you.
necklace and earrings.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. And this is with
And
dancer.
I'm her exerciser. Her name's Dancer.
Mhm.
She was a show horse in the ring, put out in the country to have a retirement. She was in a pasture for the first time in her life. She had never been in the woods before. And it was my great opportunity to ride her for a dear friend who is no longer rides and wants her to be kept healthy.
Yeah, beautiful.
Horses and people can have such close relationships of a different dimension than with another animal or with a human, because of their size and silent communication that it requires, and cooperation that you need to have for your own safety. I mean, it's a very special relationship. And so when a horse passes away, it's a huge blow. And
Yeah,
I love getting hair from a horse lover's dear horse, whether the horse be alive or passed away, especially when they're in the early grief stages of their loss. And
exactly.
I can create a piece of art that they can wear on their neck or on their wrist and keep them in touch, in physical touch with that horse that they're spiritually always going to be attached to.
Yeah.
But so that gives me great joy to be able to serve people that are grieving.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's what I was digging for you to share about the healing aspects of that. It is, I don't know if you know, but I had a horse growing up. My father had a horse, Mac, and it would have been nice to have something like that because we have fond memories of him and riding him as children. And actually, my father and my uncle helped with building the stables, all that, and going
And
to see.
it's wonderful because those connections,
Yeah.
I get to hear a lot of beautiful stories about the
Y-
horse.
Yeah, yeah.
That would make a great book sometime if I, just wrote everybody's story, but that's their business. So I can't, do that
Yeah,
permission,
yeah.
but a lot of beautiful love stories.
Love stories of healing and moving through grief through
And
that.
horses are so good at that. They are so therapeutic. They're so deep
Yeah.
in
I actually
understanding.
also interviewed and had experience with well, I'm an expressive arts therapist as well, and working with healing and grieving and that. But there's a farm nearby here that specializes in that and working with children and adults who have physical and emotional, social challenges. And they're riding the horses and caring for the horses and finding a great shifting and healing through that, and even breaking through in their abilities to communicate and talk and be more sociable through their interactions with the horses, where maybe they're autistic or not speaking at all, and through that they are able to break through that with people, and I went out there and worked with their talk with them and interviewed them. It's very, very interesting. I have that film. It actually aired on television. That I did a television show for a short amount of time, but yeah, so I do have a great passion for that. It's a wonderful thing. I hope you do make another book that's all about that. Okay. And here we are. Here's your book. And we want to be sure to get on the screen your website and information. Can you mention that right now?
This is my third book coming out on October 20th. It is the children's version of At Home on the Horse in the Woods. So I'm trying something new. I'm trying to market them together so the parent can buy the adult version and the child can buy the children's version, and they can kind of read their books together and compare notes.
Yeah. And here's your website right there for others. If they're interested in all of your books and how to reach you, they can reach you through your website. And before we close, I just want to come back to this screen here so we can see each other. Can you just talk to those who are listening and give some words of encouragement?
It took me a long time to realize this. Do not worry about other people. Disregard the ones that don't understand or will discourage you. Listen to your inner voice. You have to calm down. You have to be quiet. You have to stop your busy mind, stop your talking, stop your activity. Spend time alone and really meditate, so to speak. You're a facet of God on this earth. We're all different facets. We all shine our light to make a full picture of God for the other people around us. So you're only responsible for doing your share, and it's going to be different than other, even if it's the same art, it'll be a different form than the next artist next to you. So
Very
just
good.
be you, because God created you to be you.
Thank you so much. That's brilliant. And I'll just add, do what makes you happy and have fun. Because that's what you were meant to do.
Right.
Yeah. So thank you, Jan. This has just been delightful and really eye-opening for me. And I learned a few things, and I hope you out there did too. Thank you all for tuning in and supporting the creative arts. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
To see more Courageous Creative Conquerors videos,
join the weekly creative community calls, or learn more about private sessions, visit jeanvoicedart.com.